Well, I'm so glad that you've decided to join me on this Thanksgiving Day, and I trust this will just be a sweet day for you and your family, a great time of rejoicing. We certainly have much to be thankful for. I'd like to look today to encourage all of us to a passage that is often mentioned when it comes to Thanksgiving, and that's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. We have that wonderful admonition in verse 18, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Now, this is a wonderful verse, and often it is said to encourage us to have a thankful spirit, but it's a very specific admonition, in everything. And frankly, folks, not everything are we naturally thankful for. You know, we often think of Thanksgiving in regard to the things that are good and all the blessings that we have. But God says that we are to count it all joy when we fall into diverse temptations and trials. We need to realize that all that live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution, and we should have joy, as 1 Peter says. And so these are admonitions that go contrary to our human emotions. And so in everything, we should give thanks. This is the will of God because it shows that we trust God. It shows that we really believe He has our best interest in mind and that He will work in our lives. Now, the key for us to be able to counter our natural reaction is found in the verses before and the verse after. And we find in verse 17, just before verse 18, pray without ceasing. You see, a person who's in communion with God is going to see God in everything. So that's the key. And then the one right after verse 18, verse 19, quench not the Spirit. A person who's filled with the Spirit because they are praying is going to be able to thank the Lord for everything and to rejoice in all that God is doing, even if he doesn't understand the negative things that are coming in their life. So this is not just a nice, warm, and fuzzy admonition to be thankful that we might have on a Thanksgiving Day. This is an imperative that's impossible. Unless you pray without ceasing, and that's our decision to let God enable us to pray, and then if quench not the Spirit, that's our responsibility to allow the Spirit of God to have control. If through prayer we're walking with the Spirit, well, then in everything we're going to have a right perspective. We're going to have that wisdom. We're going to have that divine perspective. And we'll be able to give thanks and to be able to follow the will of God, truly having an understanding of His purpose in this day in which we live. And so I trust today you'll be able to really thank God for everything. I'm sure many listening to me are very concerned about what's happening. You may have some very personal trials that you're facing, but you know, this can be a glorious day. This is to be a glorious day. God will make it a glorious day. Let Him just have full reign in your heart. Spend time today in prayer if you haven't done it already. Yield to the Spirit, and I promise you, you will be thankful.